Hello and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Thousands of bus passengers face losing their local service as two companies close down.
It's not just me that's going to be affected, it's going to be the whole of Troydale really. Anyone that relies on it is going to be massively affected.
We'll hear from the Shadow Transport Secretary Louise Haigh also tonight. Health leaders urge people to watch out for the symptoms of monkeypox ahead of Leeds Pride this weekend. 2 golds in 24 hours for Ripon diver Jack Law at the Commonwealth Games. From documentary to drama, Educating Yorkshire the musical comes to Halifax. We have a front row seat.
Plenty of fine weather to come this weekend and the heat builds next week. Join me for the very latest.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thousands of bus passengers across West and South Yorkshire face the loss of their local service as 2 bus companies announced today that they'll cease to operate. CT Plus and PALS bus companies will close, affecting 33 bus routes, though some in South Yorkshire will be run by Stagecoach. Before the pandemic, 240 million bus journeys were made every year in our region, but that number fell to around 80 million during the pandemic. The companies blame rising fuel and labour costs, as well as the pandemic, for the decision. David Rhodes has our top story tonight.
In every corner of the region, there are people who depend on a bus service. From every walk of life, buses play a vital role in people's lives.
It's not just me that's going to be affected, it's going to be the whole of Troydale really. Anyone that relies on it is going to be massively affected.
It's going to leave me housebound and I can't get a bus to get anywhere.
Today, the bus companies CT Plus and PALS announced they will cease operating, closing 33 routes, affecting thousands of passengers. People like mum of 2, Katie from Pudsey, who can't drive and uses the bus every day.
Frustrated, angry, just with not driving at the moment. It is really essential to me, this journey. I use it around 4 or 5 times a day, Monday to Friday, even on a weekend sometimes, to get the kids up to activities. School, nursery, even to work.
For Philip from Sheffield, who has arthritis, his local service, which is under threat, was his gateway to the wider world.
It's not right what they've done. I can't really blame the bus company, Powell's. It's just that they've been let down with money-wise.
And money is at the heart of these potential route closures. In a statement, the company said it was ceasing operations after a period of difficult trading prior to the pandemic. The financial impact of the pandemic itself followed immediately by the current surge in fuel prices and labour costs, adding its priority is to ensure that services to the public are not disrupted, but most importantly, we want to preserve as many jobs as possible. All bus companies are facing similar issues, which are being further exacerbated by a long-term fall in passenger numbers. A decade ago, over 300 million passenger journeys were made on the region's buses. That figure steadily fell to 240 million prior to the pandemic, with only 80 million journeys being made in the first year of the pandemic itself. If bus routes do close, it's passengers like Katie who will pay the price.
So at the moment, I spend around £25 a week on bus fares. If we don't get a replacement bus service, I am going to have to get a taxi, and that's going to cost me around £25–30 a day.
Stagecoach has said it will take on a number of the routes in South Yorkshire under threat. The government says it's investing £3 billion in bus services across England, but for some passengers, there are growing concerns. More routes may disappear in the coming months. David Rhodes, BBC Look North.
Testing times. Well, we can speak to the Shadow Transport Secretary and Sheffield Heeley MP Louise Haigh now. Louise, we've heard how these route closures will affect people. Are you concerned that this is just the beginning of a wider problem?
Well, it's not the beginning. We've been seeing this for several years now. We're just in a period of endless managed decline as people are unable to rely on bus routes, so they don't use the bus as much, and then more and more routes get taken off because it's just not as commercially viable for companies like PALS. It's a twin track problem. One, we've not had sustainable public funding from the government, and 2, the system simply doesn't work. We've got private operators picking and choosing which routes they run and not servicing the routes that people really rely on. And as you've just exposed in your package there, it's the people that are in low paid work, that rely on public transport to get to work, to get to the hospital, to get to see friends and family that are going to suffer the most.
You mentioned funding there. The government provided £2 billion in bailout funding during the pandemic when people were staying at home. That's a significant figure, isn't it?
Well, obviously the government needed to support the transport system whilst people weren't using it because they were locked down in their homes. So clearly they weren't using the bus as much as they would normally. But passenger numbers simply aren't back to where they were pre-pandemic. So cutting off funding, as the government is doing now, is turning the life support off when the industry needs it most. We've been warning for months that if the government doesn't renew COVID funding for places like South Yorkshire, then we're going to see more and more routes disappear, and that's exactly what's happening now. And come August, when more and more operators are turning down routes because they can't make enough money from it, then more and more passengers across South Yorkshire and the whole of Yorkshire are going to see further routes disappear. As I say, we're in a period of managed decline. This isn't levelling up. It's a total betrayal of what the government promised, which was a good bus service for everyone, everywhere.
So what is the solution? Because you talk about passenger numbers, they have dropped, and we can't always blame the pandemic now. What's the answer?
Well, it's twofold. The government does need to step in and provide some support to our public transport network in the middle of a cost of living crisis and a climate crisis. It's unthinkable that we should be losing public transport options at the moment. But secondly, we need to take our buses back into public control. The government has deliberately put obstacles in people like the Mayor of South Yorkshire's way to bring bus companies back into public ownership. It's really important that these bus companies and our public transport system as a whole is run by the public in the public interest.
Louise Haigh, thank you for your time this evening. Next tonight, health leaders have urged people to be aware of the symptoms of monkeypox ahead of the annual Leeds Pride event this weekend. Most of the 2,859 cases across the UK have been in gay and bisexual men. 55 cases have been recorded in Yorkshire and the Humber region so far, as Olivia Richwald reports.
Leeds Pride 2019. An estimated 60,000 people gathered in the city to celebrate. After a 2-year absence, the festival is back on Sunday, but it comes with a warning about monkeypox. This is Christopher, who was admitted to St James's Hospital with the virus. He developed flu symptoms, a sore throat and a swollen neck.
It could have been HIV, it could have been COVID, it could have been monkeypox, it could be an STI or some other thing I didn't know about. I was more concerned about the lump in my neck, so to actually know that it was monkeypox kind of was a bit more of a relief. And I was a little bit angry at the fact I just had to spend 3 weeks in the height of summer isolating, being ill in my bedroom. But I would just rather have my health than my freedom. So
most of the monkeypox cases so far have been in London, and the majority in gay or bisexual men. There have been 55 cases so far in the Yorkshire and Humber region. The number of monkeypox cases are still small, but it can take up to 3 weeks for symptoms to appear. So ahead of tens of thousands gathering here, public health officials in the city are asking people to check themselves for potential monkeypox symptoms before they attend.
If they've got spots or new lesions or a new rash on their body, please stay away this year. We'll be here next year, don't worry, I promise you. But for the benefit of everyone and our whole community, if you do have monkeypox symptoms, please don't come to Pride this year.
A vaccine which protects against monkeypox is being rolled out to those most at risk. So far, 14,000 people have been inoculated.
What we'll have to see is monitor the situation very closely over the coming weeks and months to see how the number of infections changes over time. We would encourage people who are eligible for the vaccine to take up the offer of the vaccine. Anybody can get monkeypox and pass it on to somebody else, but it is these high-risk communities, gay, bisexual men and men who have sex with other men, who are particularly at risk, and they should be really aware of it at the moment.
People with flu-like symptoms or an unusual rash or blisters are being urged to avoid close personal or sexual contact until they've been assessed. There'll be information and testing available at Leeds Pride on Sunday. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North.
You're watching Friday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. How the recent heat wave is putting Yorkshire's trees under extreme pressure. News in brief, and 2 people have been treated for the effects of breathing in smoke after around 1,000 tyres went up in flames in North Nottinghamshire. Emergency services were called to an industrial site in Ranskill this morning. People living nearby have been asked to keep away from the area and to keep their doors and windows shut. An investigation into the cause is expected to start as soon as the area is safe. The owners of Doncaster Sheffield Airport have confirmed they will look at all options to keep it open, according to the local council. Politicians met with the Peel Group today. Fears had been growing that the airport could close after Peel said it was no longer commercially viable. Doncaster Council says the company has agreed to keep all options on the table, which includes selling it to another operator. Now, protesters in a Wakefield village have launched a campaign to stop plans for an energy storage plant on Greenbelt land. People living in Heath say the 18-acre development would be a threat to nature and could pose a fire risk. But Harmony Energy, who want to build the 100-megawatt battery park, say the risk of a fire is very small. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
A community energised against an electricity storage plant that could be built on Greenbelt land. They're demanding Wakefield Council throw out Harmony Energy's plan to develop what would be one of the country's largest battery storage systems. It would sit at the bottom of this field, 60 containers housing lithium-ion batteries, absorbing excess power before releasing it back into the grid.
Listed building over here.
But residents say the location is completely inappropriate.
For 1 minute, we're not against the storage of energy. Our country needs energy, but we're against the appropriateness of this development. The site that they've chosen couldn't be worse. There are far better places than next to a populated area to site this. If it did go drastically wrong, then it's going to impact a lot of people from a health point of view, from an explosion point of view, and it's just not acceptable.
There are around 150 battery storage plants in the UK, but more will be needed as the country switches to renewables. Currently, excess electricity generated on windy days is lost. With batteries, the power can be stored and then released as demand increases. But why choose a greenfield site for the scheme? There are potatoes growing in this field now, but this is where the battery plant would be built, and Harmony Energy say it has to go here so it can link into a major substation directly behind those trees. Once the batteries were running, this whole site would then be screened with more planting.
We're building this without any subsidy to help drive down energy costs long term, and we need to be next to or very close to the substations to enable the economics to work.
Is there a fire or explosion risk?
In terms of fires, there have been one in Liverpool, which was a totally different technology to the technology we're using here. We use Tesla batteries, which is a sort of gold plate of the industry. They do cost a lot of money, obviously, but we're in this for the long term.
The batteries would be just a short distance from new housing, and residents who moved in don't like the idea of a power plant replacing potato plants.
If it would have been here, I wouldn't have bought the house itself, I wouldn't have come here itself. If I would have known that it is coming here, and I feel we've been let down.
Wakefield Council will decide if the 100 megawatt scheme can go ahead. But with demand for electricity storage growing, it's unlikely to be the last such application. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Wakefield.
On to football, and Leeds United get their new Premier League campaign underway tomorrow with a home game against Wolves. Jesse Marsch has now had a pre-season to work with the team, having come in towards the end of last season. Calvin Phillips and Rafinha have left, but they've brought in a number of new faces.
We know we lost 2 great players, but that has allowed us to bring in, I think, 6, 7, 8 other players that can help us even more precisely play the version of football that we want to play.
Now, I love this programme when it was on the television, and now a musical based on the hit TV documentary series Educating Yorkshire opens tonight in Halifax. The plot follows the ups and downs of school life through the eyes of students in a community academy in West Yorkshire. Phil Bodmer has been to meet the cast ahead of opening night.
From screen to stage, young actors in final rehearsals before curtain up tonight.
sorry, Gabby, but you can't say we didn't warn you.
The musical tells a new story, but it's filled with the same emotion, humour and everyday travails of teenage life as in the original TV series.
It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, hopefully. And yeah, it's got everything. It's a bit of an emotional roller coaster in the best way possible. And I think it really captures everything that the TV show captures, because the music and the dance really just add to it rather than making it anything else. It just adds to it and makes it even better.
The TV documentary was first broadcast in 2013 and followed the lives of staff and students at Thornhill Academy in Dewsbury. The stage production is being performed by members of the British Youth Music Theatre.
It's just giving them that kind of wholesome training, essentially, to work alongside a professional technical team, creative team. I think for a lot of them, you know, the ages vary from 11 to 21, so whereas some of them might have had a little bit more experience on stage than others, ultimately we're all kind of aiming for the same goal, which is to give them that taste of working alongside a professional team.
For those working behind the scenes, the challenge has been to transform a successful fly-on-the-wall TV documentary to a musical.
It's translating that onto a stage environment, streamlining like thousands and thousands and thousands of kids and their own individual stories and experience into a two-hour evening show, and also trying to have people dancing and singing all over the place. It's definitely a juggle.
The producers say Educating Yorkshire the Musical is a heartwarming look at a transformative period in young people's lives. The production is being staged at the Square Chapel and runs until Sunday. Judging by rehearsals, it seems they may have just hit the right note. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Yes, looking and sounding good. I can't believe that documentary is nearly 10 years old. Now we're on to something a little bit different. The backdrop gives you a clue as to what we're about to talk about. If you're a keen gardener, you'll know that the exceptionally dry spring and summer is taking its toll on our landscape. Farmers have warned that crop yields could be lower than normal, and now experts are worried that some tree species are struggling to cope with the lack of rainfall. Our Paul Hudson has more.
It's been the driest start to the year since 1976, and despite some rain in the last week or so, trees and plants are really suffering, with no sign of any significant rainfall anytime soon.
It's been a really tough year for some trees this year. We're up on Mearsbrook Park here on this bright sunny day, but actually this is an area where we can sort of see what the long periods of drought are doing to the trees. You know, the leaves have started to shrivel up. It's been very difficult. We've got things like rowans and birches. These are fast-growing trees that have shallow roots. So when it's very, very dry, these are trees that are really hit first by the drought.
Last month, like all parts of Yorkshire, Sheffield set a new all-time heat record, and it's really taking its toll on some trees.
This is a sycamore that's definitely looking under the weather. It's a tree, almost certainly drought is the main contributing factor for this tree's decline.
What's the process? What is the tree doing when the leaves come off like this?
Well, certainly when it was very hot a couple of weeks ago, trees will be what we call evapotranspiring. That's where they're releasing water in order to photosynthesize, to make energy to go back into the tree. Now, the tree obviously wants this. It needs that energy. When it's so hot, the tree loses so much water that it starts to damage the parts of the tree that it can't afford to lose, the roots and the stem. So the tree will release hormones that essentially brings on an early autumn. It'll shut down its leaves and they'll drop off. OK, well, we can go and have a talk about some of the solutions at the top of the park. Okay. I wanted to show you this tree, Paul, because this is a home oak. Okay. This is a tree that is likely to be able to survive really high levels of drought and things like that. It's a sort of tree you might find in Spain.
Isn't that the solution then? Shall we just plant more of those?
Not quite, no, because it's not a native tree. It's not a tree that's grown in this country for lots of years. Another solution is just to plant more trees. We need lots of trees in lots of different sorts.
So many of our viewers will have trees in the garden, maybe young trees that have just been there a few years that are really suffering from this drought stress. What's the answer?
They need up to 50 litres of water every week in really dry periods. So just your washing up bowl, if you empty that out, the tree will really thank you for it.
Well, we've got Paul here. I was in Roundhay Park this morning, actually, and the grass was yellow. It was like hay rather than
There's loads of leaves in parts of the wood, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the seasons are just all over the place at the moment, aren't they? I mean, how worried should we actually be?
Well, there's no rain in the forecast probably for the next week to 10 days. I mean, I've seen the latest charts that have come in and it keeps it basically dry. We'll get the heat building next week and it lasts into the following weekend. So, I mean, it really is turning out to be, quite a summer.
And we've been seeing now in other regions, they're bringing in hosepipe bans tonight. I think it's 5 o'clock is the crunch time. Is that something we can see in our region?
Well, yeah, I mean, Southern Water went first. I think we've got Hampshire, Kent, Sussex, Pembrokeshire have announced a hosepipe ban. Hardly surprising. I mean, if we think it's been dry here, it's been remarkable down south. Some sites have not had any measurable rain for nearly 6 weeks. So we're not there yet in Yorkshire, but reservoir levels will be dropping below half full. They were 51% on Tuesday. They're going to be dropping below 50% this coming week with no rain in the forecast. And Yorkshire Water say that they can't rule out any restrictions, and they'll have a laser view on next summer. That's the critical thing, because they'll be worried that should we have a dry autumn and winter, like in 1975 to 76, then critically it's next summer where the real problems may well be. Anyway, let me just show you a couple of pictures before I get onto the forecast, because it paints the picture that we've got right across Yorkshire, actually. That's in North Yorkshire, completely cracked surface there in the farmer's field. However, there was a little bit of a respite. That was a rare event, a shower that went through the middle of York. They've been quite heavy, but really small and moving quite quickly. And as I say, for the next 7 to 10 days, little if any rain in the forecast. If you want to get your pictures on the telly, the addresses are on your screen right now. So let's have a look at the headline for the next 24 hours. It does look predominantly dry. I say predominantly because there is a risk of the odd shower, perhaps at first this evening and again tomorrow afternoon across northwestern parts of Yorkshire. But it's basically dry. This area of high pressure is now moving in from the west. It's going to sit right across us, not just this weekend, but all next week, and probably still be there next weekend. And with this sort of setup, you would expect temperatures to rise. So by Wednesday, Thursday next week, we're back in the range 27 to 29 degrees. So you can see the speckled clouds there. These are the clouds that have brought rain showers to some of us, but really they've not really wet the ground. And I think what we'll find is those showers rapidly die away this evening, and then overnight it's dry and clear. Quite a fresh night. Rural, it could be down to 6 or 7. Towns and cities around 8 or 9 degrees. So tomorrow's high water time, Scarborough 10:46, Filey at 11 o'clock. So I think it's a clear start, a sunny start, blue skies all the way. Just notice as temperatures rise, we will see clouds bubbling up through the course of the day. Just a hint of 1 or 2 light showers, especially across more northwestern parts of Yorkshire, but most of us will stay dry. Temperatures close to average, around 20 or 21 degrees Celsius. Sunday looks a nice day, dry with some sunshine, and then through next week, just watch how temperatures rise in the range 27 to 29 degrees, dry all week with just a light wind. So summer continues.
Doesn't it just? We'll be glued to that forecast. Thank you very much, Paul. Okay. That's it from us. Do have a lovely weekend, whatever you have planned. We'll be back with your late news and weather at the usual time, 10:25. Goodbye.